Edward Billy Meier came out in 1975 publicly that he had regular contact with the Plejaren aliens. His case has been one of the most scrutinized in history, and what makes this case so intriguing is the fact that Billy is still alive. The extremely rare program you're about to review is a summary of all collaborative evidence from his case, including all the multiple sources, to allow you to make an educated decision. Much of what you're about to see and hear hasn't been presented before.
Would some of you raise your hands who've heard of Billy Meier and some of the, very good, about half the group. Well, Billy Meier is one of these lucky people that they figured, well, he's kind of a simple type, we'll show him everything. Well, these are the benevolent aliens, and they've been here helping us.
But I think a similar kind of thing is, let's look at the case of the Swiss, the man in Switzerland who was contacted by extraterrestrials and made.
Но имеется еще один контактер известный, это значит, швейцарский человек. Майер.
Который с ним делал, да, вот этот?
I saw the pictures the day after investigative team went to Switzerland.
Я видел картинки, которые были сделаны нашей группой исследователей после того, как это явление было зафиксировано. Я очень хорошо знаю людей, которые входили в эту группу исследователей. Они приходили ко мне домой, показали мне все эти картинки, которые они получили.
Very fine photos, yes, very fine. I have seen them.
They were absolutely authentic.
Эти фотографии были абсолютно аутентичными.
And yet the whole world has tried their best to make them out to be fake.
Hey, Lee.
Hey, Tom. What's up?
Just got this back. We sent this photograph over to Neil Davies. Just got his report.
Neil Davis.
Physicist, aerospace industry subcontractor.
Right, okay, got it.
Examined the photograph with microdensitometer. Also, these you're seeing here are the black and white color separations that he did, and let's see what the results were here. Examination of these plots did not reveal any details which would cast doubt upon the authenticity of the photograph. And there's more. Color copy names, color separation. Nothing was found to indicate a hoax. And his conclusion is even more interesting. Let's see, black specks. Nothing was found in the examination of this print which could cause me to believe that the object in the photo is anything other than a large object photographed a distance from the camera. This is the new picture that we digitized last week using the microdensitometer. We transferred it over to floppy disk here. Let's look at the first map in low-pass filtering. Why these particular colors on the screen? What are we seeing? I mapped it in such a way that the real colors are not what we're seeing, but one shade of a color that's really similar to another one, like 2 shades of red, are in high contrast so that we can really see the difference. I see. Have you found any anomalies yet, of any kind? Anything? I find strange things, but nothing that would tell me that someone's tampered with the pictures. I see. Nothing indicating a hoax method or indicating superimposition or anything like that? Nothing that I can find. Have you been working on the grain at all yet? Yeah, I have. What we're seeing here is that the film grain holds up the way that it should. In the pixel distortion test, it appears to me and to the computer that this object was photographed in the same original piece of film at the same time that the background was photographed. In other words, no overlay. Mm-hmm. I would say these pictures are genuine.
This is one of the...
Because of the unusual nature of the findings, the fragments are given to chemist Marcel Vogel, an expert in crystalline structures and inventor of many substances used in computer components.
The first specimen I looked at is a metal specimen, which I classified as F1. This is the appearance that it looked at, rather golden colored on one side, silvery colored here. We find that in truth it is silver and a small amount of copper. We look at it here, this same area here, under polarized light. What is unusual of this small specimen is both highly crystalline nature, and suddenly we come to a metal section as we see here, and it showed a combination of metals that I've not encountered in any normal bit of metallurgy, both crystalline deposits and metal. Now, we, with any technology that I know of, could not achieve this on this Earth plane. I could not explain the type of material that I have and its discreteness by any known combination of materials. I could not put it together myself as a scientist. It's also a challenge because I showed it to one of my friends who was a metallurgist, and he shook his head. He said, I don't see how it can be put together. And we find that in this area there is evidence of machining, that there are striations which look like the sample has been worked mechanically. It doesn't look like anything that we've made here. At this moment, I would feel very much inclined to accept what was given to me as being true.
Do you ride your moped?
Yes.
Do you receive your mail at Schmidt-Rudy?
Yes.
Did you fake the photographs taken at Ober-Sadeleg with a model suspended... No. Wait till the answer. Or wait till the question is finished. Suspended by a string?
No.
Let's do that one more time, okay? Wait till I finish. Do you live in Switzerland?
Yes.
The tape is taken back to be analyzed by Bob Phelan, a former criminal investigator with the Sheriff's Department of Colorado and a specialist in lie detection.
It was also a yes answer. Number 3, do you live in Switzerland? Yes, he lives in Switzerland. There's enough stress here to indicate that probably isn't where he prefers to live, or he's lived someplace else. Question 4 was the first relevant question you asked him, is have you taken the photographs of spacecraft? His answer was yes. He's being extremely forceful, though not deceptive. In my opinion, on that particular question is that he's being as truthful as possible. Number 7 was the second relevant question you asked him, and he answered right on top of the question. And the person asking the question had asked him to answer the question again, and then he asked the question again. The stress levels between the two diminished the second time that the question was asked, which is not indicative of deception, because stress builds in a deceptive pattern. It doesn't diminish. If it was a deceptive answer, the stress would then increase, not decrease.
This is probably one of the most interesting things about the tape, is that there are...
What's this right now?
Very, very many tones. Yeah. And they're all changing very fast. For a moment there, we were looking in and we had 3 evenly spaced frequencies. See it there again?
Yeah, you got them again.
Yeah.
Niels, would it be possible to recreate this sound?
To be honest with you, I personally don't think so. There are not synthesizers on the market that have oscillators that change that randomly. Even if you got 9 or 10 of them going, they wouldn't change from those peaks that quickly.
So a significant thing is this rate of change.
Well, and besides, if you were going to create a noise for a spaceship, you'd be hard put to come up with something as original as this.
The tapes hold still another surprise.
And also, another interesting point to note here is we have a steady, there seems to be a steady pattern all throughout all of this random signal. It seems to be a level change very steadily in around 5 to 10 cycles per second, which happens to be in the area of the natural magnetic resonance of Earth, also called the Schumann resonance.
Is that significant in any way?
It could be. It's just interesting to note the correlation there.
The peculiar correlation is something strange.
I mean, why would the correlation be there?
Yeah.
You can see it on the oscilloscope.
There remain only a few questions to clear up, but one of them has perhaps the most bearing on the Meier case. If his story is true, how did those beings accomplish a journey of such staggering distances? The investigators put the question to Alan Holt, an astrophysicist who works with the US space program, and David Froning, a specialist in spacecraft design for that program.
Gentlemen, is faster than light travel possible today in our technology, or is this still just theory?
There have been physicists that have been so bold and brave as to actually postulate the existence of particles that travel faster than the speed of light. And they have called these entities tachyons. And they have shown that the existence of such faster than light entities may not violate known laws of physics.
I've worked on a kind of a field theory approach, which is basically an extension. I like to view it as an extension of Einstein's last work on a unified field theory. I really think that everything is pointing to a breakthrough that will make possible faster than light travel. Now, not all physicists will agree with that.
How would it work?
Well, I've represented here hyperspace currents by these blue and red lines. Down in here would be space and time. So space and time is what we're aware of and what we deal with in everyday life. But there could exist a higher dimensional space, a hyperspace, that we can interact with by certain configurations of electromagnetic energy patterns. So the concept here would be you start out with a certain pattern. Generally, you're tied in with the Earth's gravitational field and its hyperspace currents, but there's a low connection with perhaps a distant star. As you change the pattern, the connection with the Earth's gravitational field and its hyperspace currents decreases, and the connection with the distant star's pattern increases. And so, in effect, you're being pushed away from the Earth's gravitational field and pulled in to a gravitational field of a distant star. I had some artists do some work here showing a spacecraft leaving our solar system and going out of space and time. This red line represents the division between space and time and hyperspace. And the spacecraft, based on the propulsion concept I proposed, would use a field resonance effect to effectively jump into hyperspace, disappearing from space and time in our solar system, and then reappearing at a distant star.
Mr. Froding, you showed me a diagram that you had worked up that's very similar to this, that describes a hyperspace leap in some fashion also. It's remarkable how similar they are.
What I've tried to symbolize by this diagram is, first of all, the familiar space-time plane of existence shown here in blue of our physical world.
At the journey's start, some distance is traveled and some time taken getting out of the solar system is shown by the curved line at the left. Then a hyperspace jump covers most of the distance with almost no lapse of time. Some time is taken again decelerating to the target, the curved line on the right.
So this line here is very similar to the red line Alan has on his chart.
That's right. Mm-hmm. That's right. This line he shows here, the jump I show here.
Yeah. What shape would such ships have to be to make such a trip?
I initially came up with this design, with a central circular symmetrical shape. This top figure shows a field resonance system in its space-time jump mode, where it initially rises up to a certain point, and as it rises up, as the pattern gets closer to the resonance point, the colors can change, showing a higher energy flow. And you do get an effect in this concept that is very similar to what is observed in some UFO sightings.
Okay. Dave, concerning the Pleiades, they're about 500 light years away from our planet. What would you estimate the time in this form of travel?
Well, we're talking about on the order of eight-hour transit times between the Earth and the system such as the Pleiades star cluster.
Well, at first it was just to try to check the veracity of the case itself, to find out what the evidence was behind it that supported it, and I did that for several years. And then I learned about the Talmud of Emmanuel document that was associated with the case, and then I spent most of the rest of my time since then looking into the genuineness of this ancient document that was discovered in 1963.
What conclusions you gave?
Well, after many years' research, I've just found hundreds of reasons, hundreds of them, that indicate the Talmud of Emmanuel was the source of the Gospel of Matthew, in the New Testament Gospel of Matthew, and that it was no hoax based upon the Gospel of Matthew. There's just too many things it explains, too many uncertainties that the scholars, New Testament scholars, have had over the centuries and years that are explained by this document that in a totally creative way that the scholars themselves would never be able to accept, because there's so many problems they would have with the Talmud of Emmanuel. But yet for someone with an open mind who is outside of the establishment, they can see the reality of it, I would hope. The scholars have many reasons why they can't look into this document. Like, for one, it's heretical in quite a few different ways, not just one or two ways. And, well, I came to the conclusion that the case could be no hoax, based mainly upon the first-hand investigations of the primary investigators that were investigating the case when it was only 2, 3, 4, 5 years old. This was mainly Wendell Stevens and his associates, plus Gary Kinder, who did thorough investigations in 1983. The other investigation started in about 1977, and his case became noted to the public in 1975. And so I looked into it as much depth as I could, even went to Switzerland in 1985 to check out a few of the secondary witnesses that I could. it all checked out, plus the reasons why certain debunkers are totally against the case. It all made sense that it was very real. And then it was back in 1984 that I learned about a document that came out of this case called the Talmud of Emmanuel that purports to be the true teachings of Jesus, except his name was Emmanuel then, until Paul got it converted to Jesus through Paul's own desires to call him Yeshua. And so learning about this document then started to occupy my time, and I turned myself into a New Testament scholar as best I could to look into the genuineness of it and find out that the Gospel of Matthew is closely related to the Talmud of Emmanuel.